Kathleen. Welcome to BroadBand the Podcast.
Hi, Dennise. Thanks for having me.
I invited you, I want to let the listeners and viewers know, because you have been a fantastic business consultant for my business. So I thought I am totally having Kathleen in as one of my guests to talk about using our businesses and our tools and resources to build relationships, because you're so good at it.
Thank you. It's been so much fun working with you.
So thanks for being here. Okay, so let's just get right down to it. Tell us a little bit about your business.
All right. So I am a business strategist. I work with service-based business owners, female service-based business owners, and I help them take control of their business and operate it with more intention. And we're putting into place structure and routines. So everything from how they're defining their business, their offers, all that kind of front end stuff, the processes that they need to operate their business, and what I call the CEO routines. So how they're managing themselves, their schedule, their boundaries, their tasks, all that kind of stuff. And I work with both brand new and established business owners. So sometimes on the brand new end, it'll be women coming out of the corporate world looking to start a consulting business or a coaching business or a service-based business, often doing what it was they did in the corporate world, but now wanting to do it for themselves. And they want guidance, they want support, they want access to resources, reliable resources. So they're looking to hire someone to help them get it up and running. And on the established business owner side, it's someone who got started, usually had great early success, but kind of gets to this point where they feel like their business is running them. And very often they didn't put that structure in place in the first place. So now they're ready to kind of take a step back and they're ready to take control of things. And we kind of go through it piece by piece and put it all in place so that they can get up over that wall that kind of got them stuck and they can move forward.
Excellent. And, a big part of doing business, and we'll be leaning into this as we talk a little bit more, is the power of relationships, whether it's for finding someone to co-present something together, or find someone who might refer potential clients to you, or find potential clients. Relationship is always present.
Yes. I mean, my network is no doubt the most valuable thing about my business. And all those things you said, I mean, it's, all the people you meet, it's potential clients, it's potential referrals, it's potential, resources. I mean, there's just so many support, there's just so many things. And it's hard being a small business owner. You're by yourself. It can be isolating. It's overwhelming. You're wearing all the hats. And so, you have to have other people. I don't know how anybody would do it by themselves. So
I know
building relationships is really very critical to it all.
Totally. So what are some of the ways business owners use your business consulting expertise services to build relationships, whether it's building their community of connections or with potential clients?
Right. Well, so when I'm working with somebody who is getting their business up and running, or kind of we're reworking things, networking, because I'm working with service-based business owners, networking is always one of the marketing strategies, just always, that's the kind of business owner I'm working with. So we are working on their networking strategy. Who are they out looking for? Where are they, where are they looking? How are they going to talk about their business? All those things. And very often, if it's somebody who's brand new, sometimes it's the very first time they're ever networking. And so, we've got to kind of get them, worked up for that, because sometimes that can be intimidating or nerve-wracking when you're first starting. One of the other things that I do, one of the services I offer, is a quarterly planning workshop. I call it CEO Power Planning. And I bring together business owners every quarter who set their goals and create their action plan for the next quarter. And that's a little group workshop. So that's a little community, kind of thing. And so people have a chance to meet others when they are working with me. And I've seen a lot of neat little partnerships start in that. So that's another thing. And then the referrals for other clients, again, because of the way I work with clients, I'm often helping them find resources. I mean, it can be anything from all sorts of marketing type specialists to, a new VA or a bookkeeper or some sort of specialty consultant, depending on what their business is. So making those connections and those referrals is also a big part of things. And that's definitely a way that they would, kind of get into that working with me or being around me.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to amplify the power of relationship, whether direct connections or through other experiences and through virtual meetings or communities and through your services. And I will say, I think it was you did a post on LinkedIn, the gal who does summer schools.
Oh, yeah, Kim.
Yeah, I
Kim
think
Tony.
you did the post.
Yeah,
And
I
I
went to
said,
one
oh,
of
this
hers.
looks fascinating. And so I went and looked at her site. So we're scheduling a one-to-one because
Oh,
I want to hear more about her personal branding business. She's also, as you know, a photographer. And I'm looking down the pipe for new headshots as an actor. So, because that's one of my side hustles. But so I'm like, okay, I want to get to know folks before I hire folks. So I don't know if
right.
I hire her, but you never know.
So she just did my photos for me not too long ago. We've put like one of them out. So I'm just getting ready to launch those. But I just introduced her to another client of mine 2 days ago who was getting ready to do a new website. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's the kind of, referrals and introductions. And I mean, in the last 24 hours, I think I've written 4 introductory emails, connecting. I had a coffee chat with somebody yesterday and immediately sent her up with 2 other people. And, it's just like that kind of thing all the time.
The way to do business. And speaking of which, why did you become a business owner and why do you continue to do it? Because it is not all puppies and cookies.
No, it isn't. You know what? I always had it in my mind that I would do my own thing. And I I was in the corporate world. I did write a business plan for another business and was kind of getting ready to do that when I discovered I was pregnant with twins, and the business it wasn't going to work out at that time. So I kind of held on, but then eventually I did leave. And there was really 2 things that were missing in my life and what I wanted. And it was freedom and control. I wanted the time freedom, the time flexibility, which I did not have at all. And I wanted the control. It always bothered me when I was forced to do things that I just didn't, weren't in integrity with me. I'd say, oh, this is, I'm frontline, this is the way we should do, this is the way we should do that, and you'd have these people higher up that would say, well, yeah, that's fine, but we've got this political reason why we're going to do this instead. And yeah, maybe it's a bad decision, but we don't care. And we've got other things that we're trying to accomplish. And it never sat well with me. And I really wanted to be in control and do things the way I wanted to do it. And I wanted to provide the kind of service I wanted to provide. And then, of course, that flexibility. I am a mother. I raised a bunch of kids, and I wanted to have the flexibility around that. So I left, and it's actually, it's made my business very mission driven for me, because I do work with women, and I want to, for any woman who wants to have the freedom and control, I'm going to do whatever I can to help her have that, to have a sustainable business so she can have that. And that's the reason I stay here too. I could not in a million years imagine my going to work for somebody.
Oh,
I don't see how. And I'm not asking anybody, oh, can I, I'm just like right now, I've got my youngest is getting ready we're looking at colleges. He's going to be a senior. And, we've got college tours, and I'm hooking him. I've got an essay writer working with him, and I've got, I'm getting him here and there. And if I had to ask somebody every time I wanted to go off and do something, or just, anything I wanted to do for myself, no.
Answer me no. And yes, and I often say in my experience, because I've been a solopreneur full time for 5 years, is that my worst day as a business owner outshines the best day I've ever had in traditional employment, right?
Totally.
And having that freedom in my schedule to make decisions, whether they're good ones or bad ones, they're my decisions. And I read this somewhere in one of my books, that I'm always listening to podcasts and reading books, but, I want to reach my goals.
Yes.
I don't want to help other people. I do in a certain way, but at the end of the day, I want to say, I made some decisions throughout my day to improve my life experience.
Right.
Right.
I feel that same way. Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
And, it's also about the opportunities, because you sit here and, today, this month, however, whatever you're earning right now, that you have the opportunity to impact that. And when you have a quote unquote regular job, it is what it is. And there's nothing you can do to change that very much. So I like knowing that I can, if I want to work a lot harder, work a lot more, I can continue to increase that. And those opportunities are actually here and in front of me.
And it's powerful having your personal agency, which is very key for me. So a slight change of gears. How do you use, say, like your digital presence, like maybe it's a particular social media channel or something, to help with your networking, with your relationship building in your community? What do you use and how do you use it?
So I have a very strong, long time and consistent social media strategy. And I have a blog that I've written twice a month I think we're going on 4 years now. So very consistent. So I have all of that content, and I've been able to use that to leverage the networking because I'm in several networking groups that have like online groups, and I can provide content, which, so I can post in those groups, like I would post a blog post or, Tuesday tip, that kind of thing. And so that helps me network. I just had a coffee chat with somebody the other day, and the first thing they said was, I'm in this group and your name's come up a few times, and, and I see the stuff that you post. And so that, was what prompted her to reach out to me, and we had a call. So like that kind of thing. So definitely. And then I can use that for resources when I meet people, maybe something we're talking about. I'm like, oh, I have a resource, or I have something that, I've written that, might help you. But I think, and then also, I do a lot on LinkedIn, and that's a great place to meet people. And, and sometimes that comes from, somebody's shared something, or somehow they ended up on your your post, your page, whatever, and then you connect, and, one thing leads to the next. So I use that, the content strategy, and I have a website as well too, but I definitely use that to, as a big part of my marketing strategy, and to network and to meet more people.
I really love that idea of sharing a link, backlink to a post. So is when you're in these Zoom rooms, I don't feel comfortable. And some folks use this technique of like, hire me for this or whatever. And I want to cultivate relationships before I ask someone to work with me or have someone refer someone to work with me. But to share resources, information, or what have you through a blog post demonstrates your expertise, and it gets them on your website, right? So they can take a look around, right? So I love that.
Yeah, now, even one of the groups I was in just yesterday, the woman that ran it, the administrator, had posted, and I don't know what prompted it. I don't know if something had happened, but she had asked if anybody had experience with someone stealing content or anything. And I had that happen to me last year, and wrote a blog post about my experience, and included some resources, like someone who had it was a blog post of someone who had like some legal resources around that. So I, said, yes, I have. Here's a link to my blog post. So like that's a way, when you've got that kind of content, and the opportunities arise, you can do that.
I love it. How do you establish ways to make those connections? Whether it's potential referral relationships or even customers, to really, the thing, right? Know, like, and trust you. Certainly creating that content, sharing that content as a backlink to your website, to your blog, is one way, right? That's how they get to know you. But I'm wondering, what other things do you do to get that know, like, trust situated in your work as a business consulting expert?
Well, one of the things I do in my content is I do video every week. So I do 3 posts. Well, I do more than that, but I kind of do 4 posts, but one of them every single week, every Monday, is video. And I've been doing that for a couple of years now. So I think video definitely helps people get to know you more so and differently than a static image.
Yeah.
So I think that's big. And you're an actress, so you're going to approach it very differently. I'm not an actress. I have a lot of actors in my family, but I'm not an actress. So, in the beginning, it was, it's not easy. And I know a lot of people put it off forever because they just kind of stress over it. And I had somebody luckily working with me who was like, we need to do this. And I was like, fine, we'll do this. And I knew it wasn't going to be great in the beginning, but I knew it would get better. And that's what happened. It's like the more you do it, the better you get. So that has been really good. I think you mentioned photos earlier. I think that's another thing, especially these days when we do the branding photos and putting yourself in places and positions that like help your personality come through. And I mean, I've had a lot of people say to me like, oh, those photos look like you, and I like that, that I feel like my personality is coming through and I'm not, overly made up because I know I don't wear a lot of makeup. I'm not all, always dressed up and whatever. So I try and be really authentic in that. And, and I think that's come through. So that was important to me in my photos. So that was something. Also, all of the networking, like I'm open to, I have a bunch of groups that I belong to, but I get invited to go visit other ones, and I try and do that as often as I can. And so I'm always open to meeting new people. And, and I go to occasional, actually in-person ones too, which, we could talk all day about that too. Now, like, the online versus the in-person, because before the pandemic, most of it was in person and then it went online. And now there's kind of like a hybrid. And, some people prefer the online. You can, get a bigger reach. You could talk to, people out of your area, but I like to do some that are around me so that I can go and be in person, which is fun. I just went to one at a brewery like 2 weeks ago, and we were with about 20 women, and it was great, meeting new people. And
excellent. Well, let me ask you that a follow-up to that. Are there any particular virtual networking opportunities that you can recommend folks check out that you go to, or are you a participant with any those kinds of groups?
Yes. So, well, a couple of things, I guess. So first of all, I am actually a co-leader of a women's business league chapter. So they're a national organization, and then they also have chapters. So that's very local to me. I'm in Massachusetts, not too far from you. But a couple of online groups that the women who run them are actually also in Massachusetts, but people join from all over. One is called Busy People Networking. Christine McShane runs that. And then Balanced Networking, which is run by Melissa Bergio and Kelly Murphy. And those are two online groups that have networking events, and they have a lot of Facebook groups. And another one is Danny Whitestone's women. Let's see, small. I'm going to say it wrong. Women's leadership and small business group, something like that. I can probably get it to you. I'll probably say that wrong, but those are all groups that I participate in all the time, and I've been in for a long time.
Okay, so we'll make sure we get the links to each one of those sites. So I'll make sure I put those in the show notes. So thank you. And do you have a digital tool? I think I know the answer to this.
I have a lot of digital tools. When we think about networking, it's probably my CRM Pipedrive that I use. And I had actually hired a kind of CRM person a couple of years ago to help me get that set up. And that was her recommendation. And I really like it. And the thing that I like about it is that it puts you into action, which I think is the most important thing. So when I add somebody to it, I've like set up, all right, when I have a new person, these are the things I'm going to do. I'm going to connect with them on social media. I'm going to schedule a coffee chat. I'm going to follow up with them on, I'm going to do all these things. And so when I add them, it automatically adds these activities to my list with dates. So then I every week can open this up and there's a list of like to-dos. There's my action items. I need to go connect with this person on social media. I need to make sure I've got a one-to-one scheduled with this one. And so rather than sit down and think, all right, who am I going to call this week? What am I doing? Like I have a list of
Love that.
to-dos, and that's what gets us into action, and it makes it just so much easier. So
yeah, having a CRM is really important. I use Airtable and I designed it and I worked with a contract person to kind of tweak it to do certain things that was beyond my knowledge base. But I love it because it when I set up time each week to work on business development or outreach or what have you, I can go right to it and have exactly what I need to do, when I need to do it, and who I need to talk with. And my final question for you is, do you have a tip on how to motivate yourself? How do you motivate yourself to get your marketing? Now, we can extrapolate to through some of the things you just said. You use a CRM that is set up to notify you of activities, which will motivate you to take those activities. But what other kinds of things do you do to stay on top of your marketing, whether it is digital, online, and or relationship?
So a couple of things. So one is to break things down into action items. If you leave it too big and hazy, like, oh, I'm going to work on my marketing this week, you're not going to do anything. So, you need to have action items. I'm big on time blocking the biggest priorities during the week. I don't time block everything. That's a little too much for me, but most important things get time blocked. Also, I have an accountability partner who I meet with daily, and we set our top priorities for the day. And so that, and then also if you're having trouble, you hire help. I mean, I have somebody that helps me with my social media, and I hired them years ago because I was having a hard time staying consistent with it. And so I hired somebody, and it's been like the greatest money spent.
You go right on. I love it. Those are great tips. Breaking it down, I'm having a moment right now where I'm working on a special project and I keep putting it off because I'm like, I have to work on this special project. But it's like, Dennise, just write the 5 things you need to do. Just start there. So I heard Kathleen Lawson in my head when I was struggling with that. So that's
great. A big one. The other thing too is like when I've found myself inconsistent on that kind of stuff, I just make it one of my goals. I kind of do quarterly goals. And so if I make that my goal, then it's my top priority, so that too.
And, in closing, I would say what is key, maybe these tools don't speak to you, listener or viewer, but you've got to find a tool. You've got to find a system that works for you and not just throw it up in the air and say, oh, I can't find anything to make sure I do my one-to-ones like you and I have talked about. You have a goal to meet with so many people each month, and you check in, you use your system, you use your tool to say, where am I at on that? All right, I need to make some more, or hey, I'm right on the money. So having these built-in accountability tactics helps you stay on top of all the many things one must do as a solopreneur. So Kathleen, this has been such a treat to talk with you. Thank you so much for being on BroadBand the Podcast.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Dennise. It was fun.